I'm now joined by Dr. Elie Al Hindy, Chairperson of the Department of Security and Strategic Studies at the American University in the Emirates. Dr. Elie, great to have you on the show. Thank you for taking your time to join me.
Always a pleasure.
Let's start off with the United Nations is now ordering an independent fact-finding mission on Sudan to urgently investigate these violations that are happening in al-Fashir. How much of a difference will this decision make on the ground?
On the ground, well, let's start with the bright side, that something is finally happening. The world is catching attention to what's happening in Sudan. Maybe the big massacre that happened in al-Fashir has brought everything to the attention of the world scene. However, I'm afraid things in the UN move too slowly and too little. This is definitely something positive, that we will finally have an independent commission trying to see what's happening on the ground, trying to identify who is committing the atrocities. But then again, even after that, it's a long way forward to have something actual, a clear decision taken by the UN Security Council that could possibly change things on the ground and actually protect civilians and ensure humanitarian aid. We're a far way to go, but this is a good, very welcomed first step from an independent body that is the UN Human Rights Council. And this report could be used, as I said, in the UN Security Council, but also could be used in international courts to prosecute the perpetrators of these violations.
And the UN's rights chief has said bloodstains on the ground in al-Fashir have been photographed from space. He mentioned that today. How desperate is the humanitarian situation in the country since the start of the war in 2023?
Unfortunately, if we look at the history of Sudan, it's almost a continuous civil war since the day this country took its independence. And it's just one war after the other. The people barely have a few years to take their breath, to rebuild their villages, and then they are hit by another crisis and another war. What's happening is way more than a humanitarian crisis. It's actual daily massacres and daily killing. It could also be called as a genocide, because the Furi people have suffered from that 20 years ago, less than 20 years ago, and now they are suffering from it again and again. They are the weakest link, and in every crisis, they are paying the price. This is the people at the verge of extermination and way beyond simply lacking food or humanitarian aid. Definitely for those who survive, if we are able to reach them and provide the necessary humanitarian aid, it will require the support of all the countries in the surrounding, all the international community, and definitely the different parties that are controlling the ground to ensure safe passage of these humanitarian aid. Without this, more and more people are going to die every day, either by death, by killing, or by famine and starvation, or lack of medicine.
And the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio has called for international powers to stop sending military support to the RSF. Could this jeopardize the US-led humanitarian ceasefire the RSF said it has actually agreed to? And now they're saying that if this happens and Marco Rubio halts the weapons, or the international powers do, this will mean no ceasefire.
If we are to see the US and 4 other countries engaged, or 3 other countries engaged in these mediations, we need to be careful that their presentation or whatever they are offering on the table is actually perceived as a neutral basis and not supporting one party against the other. Although some of them we know, and this is part of the problem, are closer to one of the factions than the other. But definitely a proposition of stopping the military support to any of the 2 groups is a necessary first step. Because civil war, as we know in the science of security and of political science, civil wars are fed by money and weapons that come from outside 99% of the times. So definitely stopping this flow of money and weapons and, of course, political support is the necessary first step, but definitely not a sufficient first step.
And the US, Saudi Arabia, the UAE and Egypt, the Quad as they know, and have been working on ways to end the civil war in Sudan. But Dr. Elie, what are the major sticking points where they can't seem to move forward?
There's just too much complexity in this situation. First, the four need to agree on what is their vision for the future of Sudan. They still don't see eye to eye on every aspect of this conflict. As I said before, some of them are close to this party of the conflict or to the other. So we don't have a clear roadmap fully supported by all four countries that are mediating and that shows a clear way forward. So this is the first hurdle. The second hurdle is, once we have this agreement, will we, or this roadmap, will we guarantee the support and the enforcement by both parties of this temporary transition plan, or whatever you want to call it? That's the second challenge. Will they agree on it? Will they implement it? Who will enforce this, practically speaking? And third, is any of these countries willing to send boots on the ground to actually act as a peace force or as an enforcement mechanism to force this transition on both parties and actually act as a guarantor of this agreement? This is also nowhere to be seen by any of the four or any other power. If we go towards the peacekeeping force, be it an African peacekeeping force or a UN peacekeeping force is not enough in the case of Sudan. We need a strong enforcement capable under Chapter 7 of the UN Security Council that allows the UN forces or the multinational forces to actually enforce and use force to implement a specific peace process. So there's the international agreement, there's the agreement of the internal parts, there's the practicality of it, and then there's the enforcement mechanism. All of these are sticking points. We're still, unfortunately, a very long way to go. And everybody was distracted by what's happening in Gaza, very rightfully so. But then this is a clear genocide, a clear massacre happening on the just few 100 kilometers away. We need to give it as much attention as we gave Gaza and actually bring all the efforts of the international community to stop what's happening, because it is really unacceptable to any human being, let alone to the international community and to the world altogether.
Dr. Elie Al Hindy, thank you so much for joining me with your insights on the situation in Sudan.